We're going to move on to R6. So we're going to run this back. We have another stack. I would encourage people, not just encourage people, I would request people, please stick to the item of R6, which is approval letter to the United States Department of Justice requesting an investigation of the ballot overspray issue from the November 5th, 2024 presidential general election. This is sponsored by Supervisor Jones. Supervisor Jones, is there anything you'd like to add? Or
yeah, just very briefly. So it's not just the overspray issue, it's the duplication process as well. What I watched on election morning and in the evening was a duplication project that was filled with errors. I returned on election day at about 3:30 with our CEO so he could see the problems as well. So we had, not only did we have an ink overspray issue that rejected half of our ballots, then we had another issue of possibly another machine coming in, certified or not, we do not know, that scanned and made an electronic image of approximately 50,000 ballots, and then in some electronic way reproduce those with errors. So that's the letter. Again, I want an investigation by the next administration to look at this, and I'll comment more after public comment.
All right, so we have a bushel of requests, so I would ask you 2 minutes once again. If we could, let's just keep it rolling. So I'd like to get through our 5, 6, and 7 before lunch. And these are being read off in the number that they're received. So Citizen 2.
Excuse me, Chair Cryer?
Yes.
I hope to speak on this matter.
Okay, I had you written down for R7, but if you want to, really quick, County Council, can we have ROV speak on R6? He did ask me to speak to this prior to the meeting. I thought, because I saw his name on R7, I thought he was already listed. So can we do that?
Ultimately, you could ask him questions. It couldn't be a presentation.
Okay, so for public comment wise?
Public comment,
He'll have to be in public comment. So I'm going to move you to the top of the stack. So Mr. Toller, you're first for public comment. And this is on R6 about ballot overspray and duplication.
Thank you, members of the board. I draw a sharp distinction between this particular letter and the previous one. That deals with something that's historically resolved. I have nothing to fear from any investigation. With respect to this one, I have two concerns. One is, first of all, that it violates the principle of subsidiarity. The idea that we should try to see things solved at the local level before going to the state level, and certainly to the federal level. I believe we achieved a local solution to the problem of the ink overspray and the duplication. It just happens that because it was not merely local, other counties, Nevada County, had the same problem, that the Secretary of State is involved, so the state level is also investigating this, and I know for a fact is working with Hart and Runbeck to try to determine why the problem arose. So the fact that many here in the audience do not want the state's solution and don't look for a solution from the state means that they want to bump it up to the next level. That's going to have two potentially deleterious impacts. The first is that at some point we are going to have to negotiate with Runbeck and Hart for the reimbursement of the costs associated with this problem. And this letter is going to put a chilling effect on that. So I don't think you want to engage in poking the bear before we get the information from the Secretary of State and before we've had those discussions with Hart and Runbeck on the costs. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Supervisor Jones.
Yeah, and so ROV Toller, with all due respect, you should look forward to any letter from any investigative system, even as far as United States. The idea is that they should match whatever California Secretary of State does and the U.S. Department of Justice. They should match. You should welcome that, not fear that.
Sir, it's not a question of fear. It's a question of timing. I don't believe sending this letter at this time is going to be good or useful. I think
what time would you like me to send it?
Well, I would like to send it after we've had a full investigation by the Secretary of State, and also
Hey, listen, please.
Initial negotiations with Hart and Runbeck about an as yet undetermined full cost to reimburse us for the problem that, frankly, we didn't create. They did in some combination, one, the other, or both. That's all I'm saying. I don't fear any transparency. I don't fear any investigation. That's my background. I'm used to that.
Thank you. I will, and you go ahead and take a seat. One thing I will say, I just want this to be clear, is the state of California still owes us SB $90 totaling over $1 million. And that goes back over 8 or 9 years. And Ms. Short and I have talked about that. So, you know, the state made up their mind when they rammed 969 down the throats of California. So you know, you can only play nice so long. And we talk about poking the bear. They haven't poked the bear. They've just basically gouged and cut out our eyes and tried to take our arms and legs off. So I feel pretty strongly about that. So anyway, all right, Citizen 2, come on up. Laura Hobbs, please, again, keep this to the ballot overspray and the duplication, and let's get through this quickly. Thomas, you're up for that. Thank you.
California voting system standards are not being met in Shasta County. The voting system Hart InterCivic, as it is currently utilized, has a misfeed rate of approximately 250 ballots for every 500 ballots scanned, or 250/500th. This far exceeds the state voting system standards set forth by the Secretary of State that allow for no more than one misfeed per 500 ballots scanned, or 1/500th. California Election Code 19101A says the Secretary of State shall adopt and publish voting system standards and regulations governing the use of voting systems. Runbeck has provided the Novus duplication system, which is being used despite many errors. The duplication process is conducted in private with no meaningful observation. The process is complicated and lacks a clear workflow. More concerningly, the duplication process is done without maintaining chain of custody, and observers are not permitted to look over the shoulder of the individual creating the duplicate ballot, nor are they able to look over the shoulder of the individual double-checking the accuracy of the duplicated ballot. AB 969 provides for cases such as ours by creating a new law, California EC 15270.3, which states that elections official may conduct a manual vote in the event of a natural disaster or other state of emergency in which use of a certified voting system is not feasible.
Yeah, 26 more seconds.
We declare that what is happening here in Shasta County is a state of emergency in which the use of a certified voting system is not feasible. We insist that a 100% manual hand count audit be conducted in order to ensure accuracy and transparency in Shasta County's election.
Laura Hobbs.
Okay, good morning again. So, the Secretary of State adopts guidelines for our voting systems. California Election Code 19101 says the Secretary of State shall adopt and publish voting system standards and regulations governing the use of voting systems. The machine or device and its software shall be suitable for the purposes for which it is intended. Clearly, in this election, they were not suitable for the purposes that they were intended. So having to duplicate over 50% of the votes is not acceptable. It's not a suitable machine or system. They are violating their own black letter law by using this system. The Runbeck duplication system was not even certified, so far as we know. It was not certified on site where it was publicly viewable. We have to take their word for it that it was certified at all. They should do testing on site to prove to the public that it's accurate. This Runbeck system was not accurate. We know that much. So the idea that they are going to reimburse us for this is a pipe dream. The fact of the matter is that we actually violated their Verity Hart, our machine. they have their own ballot printing guidelines. On page 33, we did not follow these guidelines. It says that you have to print out a test batch and make sure that those are scannable by the machine. If you don't follow the manufacturer's instructions, you cannot bring a claim against them to reimburse you. So I don't know why he's thinking he's going to get money back. That is a pipe dream. And we need to do something here locally. I appreciate you sending this letter out, but you have the jurisdiction to do something here right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thomas, followed by Casey, followed by AR, followed by Carol Johnson, followed by Citizen 1. Please get in the queue.
Thanks. It's not my expertise here, but what I've seen, the overspray caused us to adopt a duplication process. And to me, a duplication process is real simple. You duplicate what's there. So what I seen was a ballot and a duplication. It should be the same, right? But then somebody on the mouse would change the duplication.
The choice, that's right.
So that's a very simple process. Somebody's messing with your vote. And if you're expecting money back from California, good luck. And Laura just got to explaining about there's steps to be done prior to all this crap. The steps weren't taken. The county's going to absorb everything. And now if you're expecting to go to the state for money, good luck. Why don't we take care of it here locally? We need the hand count. And not the hand count the way they hand count, where two guys sit over there and tell you what they voted. I didn't ever get to see. I went in there 10, 15 times. I never got to see a ballot with a check on it. Somebody was telling me, and they had problems with that. So it's here locally. We didn't vote out in some other country. We voted here in Redding, California. And it's a mess. It doesn't have to be that way.
Thank you. Casey, followed by AR, followed by Carol Johnson, followed by Citizen 1, followed by Bev.
As an observer of this election process for at least 15 days at the ROV's office, I observed chaos with this whole duplication process. There was tens of thousands of ballots all over in, some days 15 different areas of the ROV building. There was no documentation of where things were going or what was being done. We just had to ask if there was someone available to ask, and a lot of times they didn't know themselves. I've seen supervisor put ballots in a random file cabinet and take them out, and asked Tom Toller why, and he didn't know. And then he asked the supervisor, and she gave a reason that didn't make any sense. I also, in the duplication room, the limbo room, the most vulnerable area was the actual duplication of these rejected ballots. And that was in the far corner of the room, and it was roped off. So we couldn't see what they were doing in that duplication area. And it usually was one person independently working with the black pens all over the place. You could see the top of the pen, writing with thousands of ballots around him. And I had to jump and move, and I saw writing on the ballot in front of me. But most of that, that was after I jumped, and I had to move all around to do it. And I asked why, and I'd never seen any of those ballots in that room have writing on it. The serial numbers all were printed. But that was the explanation given me. This is not acceptable.
AR, followed by Carol Johnson, followed by Citizen 1, followed by Bev.
Deidre Holliday declares as follows. RV observation Thursday 10/31/24 Bat Room. At approximately 11:08 a.m., just outside the ballot tabulation room, aka the Bat Room Cave, Laura Hobbs asked Tom Toller if some of us could enter the room since the distance and the closed door prevented meaningful auditory observation. He said we could not. She then asked if he would open the door so that we could hear what the workers were saying as they ran the ballots to determine which were good and which were rejected because of the ink spray. He replied that we could possibly ourselves, women. We replied that we could position ourselves at the door vent, which is approximately 10-12 inches from the door floor. In order to be able to hear what the workers are saying. This would have been unreasonably awkward and uncomfortable, as one could have had to kneel or lie to have one's ears near the vent, not to mention the hazard it would pose should a worker exit the room not knowing someone was on the ground just outside the door. This would predictably result in a worker tripping over, falling on an observer trying to hear what was going on. This sort of non-accommodation also possesses hygiene considerations and is not consistent with observers' rights to meaningful observation.
Thank you. Carol Johnson, followed by Citizen 1, followed by Bev, followed by Nicole, followed by Teresa.
Good morning. I'm going to be reading an affidavit that was written by Bev Gray on observing the elections in the tabulation room. In the tabulation room, there are two people. One grabs the ballots and runs it through the machine, while the other one takes the batch and crisscrosses some of the ballots that are rejected. I can't see if the ones that are rejected are based on a report of how the rejected ballots are being identified or how the ejected ballots are being identified. The door is shut, so I can't hear what is being said. One person pulls out the crisscrossed rejected ballots, supposedly, from the accepted ballots, and appears that the good ballots are put in a box with a label, and the report is put on the rejected ballot box and placed on the far rack. Seems to flip one way and then goes the other way. It's totally confusing. When you can't tell what's going on, or if anything is in an original order or not. I asked, apparently someone has written their name on the box, probably signing off that they had done the work, but I asked Joanna if their names, if I could know the name, and she said I would have to ask them if I want to know more. This is signed by Bev Gray. Thank you.
Thank you. Citizen 1, followed by Bev, followed by Nicole, followed by Teresa, followed by Krista M. If we could please get queued.
The citizens of Shasta County are currently being disenfranchised. The U.S. Supreme Court in 1950, in a case called U.S. versus Mosley, concluded that we not only have the right to cast a vote, but also we have a right to have our vote accurately counted. This case held that to refuse to count and return the vote as cast was as much an infringement of rights as to exclude the voter from the polling place. It also affirms that the elector's rights be protected, not only to cast his vote, but to have it honestly counted. Shasta County ROV did not follow the user manual provided by HART. The guidelines on page 33 specify that when a third party is used to print the ballots for the HART system, those ballots must be tested before the live ballots are sent out to the voting population. We still don't know the results of the logic and accuracy test performed before the machines were used because the ROV has refused to share them with the public. This is a violation of sunshine laws. Because the ROV neglected to follow the user manual, a printer error on live ballots occurred. 1 out of every 2 ballots were rejected and had to be duplicated. Thomas Toller and Joanna Francescat are responsible for this glaring oversight. not Hart and not Runbeck. This is not acceptable and it should not be tolerated. They created this problem by using a faulty voting system incorrectly. They tried to fix it by bringing in another faulty voting system to duplicate the original ballots. What we are left with is zero confidence in our election system.
Bev? Nicole? Is there a Nicole? Okay, no. Then Teresa, then Krista, Margaret Hanson.
Okay. I have great concerns about the so-called overspray problem. We need to know the cause. We need to know the percentage of rejection on mail-in ballots only. We need to know the percentage of rejections on the A cards and the percentage of rejections on the B cards. It appeared there were more problems on the B cards. And we need to know the sort sequence that the ballots were printed from. Okay. Once we have the sort sequence, I would think the problem would show up like here. It was all of these, not this one and this one and this one and this one. Okay. I don't understand why one record would have more problems than the other. And why would the duplicated ballots also get rejected with the same message of the barcodes? That makes no sense to me because where's the overspray there? When I imagine Runbeck printing the ballots, I see each precinct or ballot type being printed in order with the A record being printed and then immediately after the B record would then be stuffed in and then they'd be stuffed into the ballot. That would cause rejections to be pretty equal all over, okay? But for it to be so sporadic, are they really printing all the A records and then later the B records and then matching them up and putting them in the envelope? That makes no sense to me. I just, dealing with this stuff for so many years, it just does not make any sense. And we need to know how these ballots were created and in what sequence, and all these questions need to be answered in the letter should be helped to do that. Thank you.
Teresa, followed by Krista, followed by Margaret.
I'm not a data brain like Bev is. I don't know all this stuff, but all I do know is common sense. And I appreciate the letter going forth, because if there's really nothing to hide and there's no wrong to be found, that's just a plus. But I know we're here in California, and there's a lot of wacky stuff that's going on here in California. So if we are the last rural red stronghold, you don't think that we're under attack? Hell yeah, we're under attack. I don't know if any of this happened outside of California. I know we weren't the only county, but Nevada County is also pretty much red too. So I think the investigation's great. I think it needs to be. And if there's nothing to hide, then nothing will come forth and everything will be good. But if there's something to hide, hopefully somebody will find it and rectify it. Good job on the letter.
Krista Munns, Margaret Hanson, Lori Bridgeford, Steve Amaral.
Hi again. Okay, I just want to start with the idea of the consent of the governed. And did we consent to have our ballots manipulated? In Merriam-Webster and Cambridge Dictionary, to duplicate, because words are important, means to make an exact copy. I think from the testimony that people have given, that did not happen. From the one machine we could see duplicating. So it's not a duplication. What is it? That needs to be looked into. What kind of machine is it? Replicating, that's an exact copy too. So we the people are told we're not competent to hand count ballots because there's errors, but we're supposed to believe that a few people can remake 70,000 ballots, and those are supposed to be accurate. I did not consent to that. I consented to having my ballot counted. in a trustworthy manner. And I think that, again, we should do a hand count regardless to investigate this. I would suggest a grand jury being impaneled to look into this. And I want to know why people at the precinct were not told to use a precinct ballot when they knew that the ballots they received in the mail were defective. I actually asked and was given a precinct ballot, but if you didn't know to ask, nobody informed you. And this was common knowledge as far as the people administering.
Thank you. Margaret Hanson, followed by Lori Bridgeford, followed by Steve, followed by Gary.
Okay, I'm speaking as an individual citizen, not for any group or any official entity. 500 questions again for this one, and I only have 2 minutes. But I'm going to tell you, I observed for several hours with a group of people, and we watched the duplication process, and I was also able to tour around a little bit to the areas that are in question. But I'm going to tell you, it's been a disenfranchisement. I am extremely concerned. For one, it's a violation of constitutional rights, and it negates our voice. And there's big problems. And if these things were not certified, the new machines coming in, not certified, yes, we need to go beyond the state of California. And that's why I'm agreeing with your letter, because the Secretary of State has proven time and time again that if it doesn't suit the agenda, we don't hear anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori, Steve, Gary, followed by Jenny.
Okay, so we're on R6. Yes, again, we need to have another letter. It will help anybody else in the future. I don't know how it's going to impact the election we just had. There's people that are coming and going. They're waiting to be on different boards, and now we have this giant cloud over the whole situation, and at some point it has to be clarified, rectified. This is a crime scene, violations. Our office blew it, even though Mr. Toller hadn't done an election before. He was relying on other people's expertise. This operation should have been shut down immediately when the duplication was starting to go haywire. Just crime scene tape, shut the door, wave a white flag, ask for help. That is what strong leaders do, is they recognize something blew up, went wrong, and there's a lot of people that spent a great deal of money campaigning, and they're on hold in a way. It adds to the suffering. So I read last night until about 3, 4 in the morning, about 65 affidavits. I wrote a few of them. I could still write more. I was an observer for several days as well. And if people missed or are more curious, please refer to yesterday's commission meeting. It was videotaped by Robert Extra on his YouTube channel. It's about a 2-hour meeting. And lots of information there. I still want to know what in the hell happened at Nevada County, how much was similar, different, and why aren't we working together as friends? If they've got jerked around and exposed and harmed, why aren't we working together more with these people? It seems like an obvious thing. So 30 seconds. There's a lot of explaining to do, and there are people that absolutely need to make a long list of what went wrong. And just like Shasta County needs to be first, we can't save everyone. You know, and if Cash Patel needs to gut the FBI, so be it. Something's got to be cleaned up.
Steve Amaral, Gary Perot, Jenny, Michael Kehoe.
I'm all for a letter on this overspray, and it has to go to the next DOJ. I mean, that's a good point. If this DOJ gets it, they'll throw it away just like Sacramento would. Why are we printing these ballots in one of the most corrupt places in the country? How come we're not printing these ballots locally? I think that's something we might be able to address here at this board. Keep that money in this county. And if we have a problem, it's right here local. We can deal with it. And as far as observing at the ROV, for the ROV to say no amount of observing it will satisfy us, I think is disgusting. They've got 2 big windows in that bat room, and they've got 1 station in front of 1 window. The other window's got a rack, a shelf, with ballots on it. I mean, if they truly want to let us observe, why aren't they putting something in front of that other window? And that situation room, all you've got is a window and a door about this big. And you're looking through there, you can't see squat. And the rule of two, forget about it. 2 people in the room is not the rule of 2. And I think it ought to be 3 if they're
Let's try and bring it back to R6.
I'm trying.
Appreciate that.
Let's see if we can't get the ballots printed here. Thank you.
I will say there are 2 vendors already going into that process. Gary, Jenny, Michael, Martha.
I want to thank the board and commend you for your concern over this matter. I consider it of utmost importance. And I heard the comment by Mr. Toller about getting reimbursed. That would be a great idea. As an engineer working for Intel, I've sold thousands of systems very similar in construction and architecture to the voting machines. And Laura made an excellent point. If we did not follow the recommended procedure, that's an automatic out. That's right in the contract, and there's no point for us to wait and expect that we might get reimbursed. And I do believe that we should elevate this. We know that in Sacramento they're opposing our efforts to have a secure election. So I agree wholeheartedly with signing the letter. And I also believe that we should do whatever we can locally to make sure that we have a secure election. So since we did have an overspray problem, why can't we do 100% hand count validation? Thank you.
Jenny, followed by Michael, followed by Martha, followed by Dan.
All right, first up, I also observed the duplication room, not just everyone speaking. And not only can you see the ballots from the window perfectly, as Thomas Hillebrand already said in his statement, so already there's conflicting things here, but you can also be in the room with the employees listening to them check each ballot. The biggest complaint of the process appears to be the hand counting part itself with the duplication process. It takes 4 separate people to clear the duplicate ballot to be used. So there's your checks and balances, exactly what you're asking for hand counting, yet this seems to be the main thing that you guys are complaining about. After 2 days of observing, I learned each and every part of the process of the voting and how it works and how it's counted. So it would appear that if you're involved in observation with the intention to observe and not just to simply look for problems, the observation process is fairly meaningful. In the first week of October, they held the test that the speakers here have been concerned about. I know because Kevin Cry and Tim Saunders are on camera observing it. This is yet another witch hunt and the opportunity to spread lies and misinformation about county staff. This elections office worked tirelessly to fix a problem they didn't create, and the audience prefers to throw hardworking staff under the bus rather than congratulate them for their hard efforts. Finally, the ink overspray is a problem between Rumbeck printers and Hart machines, both working together. A majority of California counties use Dominion, which doesn't have the ink overspray problem. It can read it just fine. And the other county to use Runbeck and Hart is Nevada County. It's the only one. Orange County uses Hart, but doesn't use Runbeck, and they didn't have the problem. So there you go.
Michael Kehoe, followed by Martha, followed by Dan, followed by Dolores.
Good morning. This election cannot be certified. The election must be redone. The Shasta County Election Department did not follow the printing instructions for the Hart Intercivic election system. This resulted in massive printing errors far exceeding the error rate allowed under California and federal law. The federal standard of no more than 1 error per 10,000 ballots is more stringent and must be applied in the federal elections. But Shasta County did not even come close to meeting even the state standard. 1 out of 2 ballots were rejected and then rewritten. 1 out of 2 is not acceptable when the standard prohibits more than 1 out of 10,000. To make matters worse, the ballots were rewritten without chain of custody, without keeping the ballots in sequential order, and without observers. The evidence of this election has been corrupted beyond repair.
The people looking through a window while election staff rewrote ballots were not observers. They were not even allowed in the room. They could not hear what was happening or be heard when they voiced their objections to the process. Complaints they submitted about what they believed were errors made in the processes later were ignored. This election has been blotched. It has to be redone. There is no way this election can be certified as a valid under existing law. Thank you.
Martha, Dan, Dolores, Benjamin. If you could please get in queue, that'd be great.
My name is Martha Sheeler. Good morning, Board. I'm a concerned Shasta County citizen. I'm New California State Chapter Chair in Tehama County. I'm also a senator and a member of the New California State Tehama Committee on Elections. I just delivered to you a cease and desist letter and will read excerpts from it. But first I want to say it is inaccurate to say that the new law prohibits Tom Toller from releasing audit logs electronically. That's a misstatement. The November 5th, 2024 election in Shasta County has been certified by the Registrar of Voters, Thomas Toller, and presented to be accepted by the Board of Supervisors. Concerned Shasta citizens have delivered cease and desist letters.
This is our 6.
This is why
Ballot Overspray.
It's in support of your letter to the Department of Justice. I'd like my time back. The county council and Thomas Toller, as well as the supervisors, served these cease and desist letters. This election would be a violation of the Help America Vote Act, which falls under the Civil Rights Act. California State Voting Standards 4.1.1 accuracy requirement states, the following requirements are intended to allow tolerance for unpreventable hardware-related errors that occur rarely and randomly as a result of physical phenomena affecting scanning sensors. And I would like to clarify, it's 1 in 10 million ballots in the federal standards. They have exceeded that in gross ways. Do not choose not to send this letter now. They will have it in the next administration, but I beg you. And if you don't, I will advocate for every citizen in this county to send a letter so that they'll get it from all of us.
Dan, followed by Dolores Lucero, followed by Benjamin, followed by Bob Holsinger.
Thank you for hearing me again. My name is Dan. And I want to say, the election workers, I respect. They put in long hours. They were working hard. And as the Germans said, they were following orders. But the leadership team that was over there was disgusting the way they hostilely treated us. That needs to go into your letter because the observers were treated so poorly. Add that to your letter, please. And I would suggest you make 2 letters and 2 proclamations. One that goes to the current regime, and then one that will go in February to the next leadership team. I don't think the government's going to respond quick enough to get anything done between now and the new leadership team coming in. But at least we can get that ball rolling. The other thing that does is gives you guys an opportunity to send a letter now in case the next supervisors decide to override your decision and not send the letter that you propose to send in February. We don't know what they'll vote on. So I would send 2 letters, please. 1 now, 1 in February. The accountability on doing the duplication process, if those were $10 bills over there, our ballots, or my ballot, was worth way more than $10. But if it was $10, the chain of custody that went through for our duplication process would have never been accepted. The ballots were just thrown around. They were in break rooms. Individuals had them, and the individuals were working all the time on them. That's not acceptable with a $10 bill. It shouldn't be with our ballots that are worth more. We need to declare it a crime scene, guys. It was a crime scene what happened over there on Market Street. And if you don't tape it off, and the commissioners, the election commission yesterday were trying to describe the sitting of where the machines were and stuff, because no one was allowed to photograph anything. We don't have photographs showing how far it was. Jenny might be able to observe things from a long ways away. We can't.
Dolores, followed by Benjamin, followed by Bob Holsinger, followed by Lori Heston.
I want to say, how dare you call me a bitch when I walked out, Kevin? We got you on video. We got you there. So, you're going to get that one. Definitely. You don't call me a name. I heard you.
Okay, for the record.
It's on the record. It's in recording, too. We got it. So, regarding what you're trying to do, send a letter. You got to be careful to make sure that you're not going to... Here's the thing. I submitted a letter to the Attorney General regarding you three before. So I don't think they're going to listen to you well because as your Q&M didn't even pass, okay? So because people don't like you, they don't trust you. So it has to be somebody else who has someone they could trust when they see that letter. It's going to come back and bounce back. But if the voters' rights were violated, if you don't do anything about what happened here in the election, these voters, you're going to see so many lawsuits pending against the county because you have an obligation to do what's right. Because if you don't, like I didn't give permission to anybody to duplicate my ballot. I didn't give them permission. That's my ballot. Nobody, where does it say I'm waiving my rights for somebody else to duplicate my ballot? And on top of that, what's more important, to be reimbursed all the money? What about the voters? Their rights are being violated. That's what you should be concerned about. On top of that, but we know, Kevin, you're not going to do what's right. That's the thing. Even though you got people yelling at you and telling you to do what's right, it's like pulling teeth. You need to do the right thing for the voters. Stop thinking about yourself, you selfish, and calling me a bitch. How dare you?
All right, I want to make sure that people that watch this back, if that can be found and posted online, I mean, that would be fantastic. But like most things that come out of that speaker's mouth, it's just complete hogwash. Ben, come on up.
So R6 is yet another attempt by Patrick Jones and others to sow doubt in our election system. I'm deeply concerned that the board chooses to send letters selectively rather than addressing issues in a bipartisan manner. If we truly have these concerns, we should send them to both administrations to ensure impartiality. Just send 2 letters. Are we trying to save money on stamps? The issue stems from the board's majority's decision to switch from Dominion to the Hart InterCivic, adopting untested machines in a critical election year. Our previous system worked, had support, and would not have caused this particular issue. Dominion systems performed well, and it was entirely avoidable. Now, ironically, mail-in ballots, the very process individuals in this community have criticized, alerted us to this issue early, giving us time to act. Without that lead time, the problem could have been catastrophic. The manual duplication process Patrick criticizes is actually a robust system, involving 3 layers of checks to ensure accuracy. It's pretty much hand counting, and that system allows for correcting potential mistakes, something that would be untraceable without modern technology. And let's be honest, Patrick's 2 minutes of observation during the process do not outweigh the expertise of an entire elections office. Disrupting the office based on superficial claims is reckless and unjustified. Now, my wife reminded me of a historical fact worth noting. The reason we have a lame duck period is because hand counting elections once took months to complete. Modern technology has streamlined this process, and yet here we are, advocating for a return to horse and buggy. Let's focus on real solutions instead of fueling unnecessary chaos.
Bob Holsinger, followed by Lori Heston, followed by Jim Burnett, Ron Pember, Terry Reposer.
Good morning, Board. It's Bob Holsinger. I'm concerned about the ballot overspray and the duplication because I was wondering who authorized the duplication and the rescanning of ballots that were printed by a third-party vendor. Where did that come from? We don't have any idea, but yet we're going to have to certify the election for that? Not in my world. But anyway, so On election day, I had my wife and my sister-in-law and myself in line for an hour and a half going to the ROV. And when I got to the door, I said, I'm going to duplicate my envelope and my ballot, and I'm going to let you vote that, and I'm going to take my original ballot, I'm going to take it home as evidence, potential evidence for future needs. There's no reason not to be transparent, not to give us the right to observe. It's a law, and it has to be obeyed. But this, what we're seeing, is just out of control. Duplicated and gee willikers. How come we can't see with our eyes where this microfine dots were, but yet the machine can? And where did Red Deck get the authority to bring their scanner out and also bring out their printer? And everybody shake their head, oh yeah, that sounds like a great deal, a great deal. That's a problem I just have a real hard time agreeing with. Thank you very much.
Lori Heston, Jim Burnett, Ron Pember, Terry. That'll be our last speaker. We'll bring it back. Just let the public know we are going to finish this item, and then we will take R7 after the break.
At the risk of being repetitious, I'm going to restate things that have already been stated because they're important. How can we accept an election that has an over 50% rejection rate of ballots, and then they were reduplicated without the public's, or better yet, the voters' approval? I don't even understand how we can accept that. It's coincidental that if you look back over the last 8 years, all the obstacles that have been put in our way, where we bring a solution and solve one obstacle, another obstacle is presented. Where that's solved, another obstacle is presented. This is yet another obstacle to getting free, fair, and transparent elections. It's far beyond coincidental. Please don't, with ballots that have been oversprayed and they've been duplicated without the proper observation of all parties being represented, being, Republican, Democrat, Independent, all that, without all those safety nets put in place, please don't accept a certification of this election. How a certification can be suggested is beyond me. After what we've heard today and the lengthy process of managing these ballots, the cost of managing them, of reduplicating them, the effort put into all that far exceeds the effort that would ever be put into hand counting, which was the original objections, how time involved they were. I would encourage action on this letter and any other item today on the agenda that involves a letter to send it immediately so this board knows your voice has been heard by someone, and then to delay the next letter to be sent in February.
Jim Burnett, followed by Ron Pember, followed by Terry Raposa. That's the last speaker, then we'll bring it back for board discussion.
Well, I do agree with Tom Tuller about the principle of subsidiarity and trying to get everything straightened out here locally. I disagree that California is the place that we're going to find it, especially the Secretary of State's office. After all, her boss, Gavin Newsom, wants to Trump-proof California, which means he wants to Shasta-proof California also. So we have to go to the feds, and I do agree with the two speakers that said, yeah, send a letter now, send a letter to the Trump administration just to cover our bases. We don't want to wait too long, but we also want to make sure that it goes to the right place. And the fact that there was a solution implemented doesn't mean that it was the right solution. So it's in his position as ROV, you're just kind of looking for the only lifeline possible, and so its expediency was the thing that was desired the most. But that solution of having Runback come in with their machine and not really, I don't think they did a logic and accuracy testing on that. I could be wrong, but I'd like to hear if they did. All of those scanned ballots are suspect, and the whole process is suspect. It was a big mess, and once again, for the 100th time, I'm going to urge that we declare an emergency, an election emergency, and do 100% hand count to mitigate this. Thank you.
Ron, then Terry.
Good morning again. My name is Ron. I think the overspray confuses the machines. So the only way to get an accurate count is hand counting. I keep saying that, and other people have said it as well, and it never does happen. So if you want the people to suggest how to fix a system, hand counting. I'm repeating myself. You hired a person to the ROV who won't listen to the people. It's been suggested so many times to hand count 100%, and so I'm repeating myself. I'm repeating what other people are saying, and you have the authority to have the ROV hand count. I think of the Board of Supervisors. So this is what I'm suggesting again. Follow what the people say and hand count 100%.
Mr. Reposa, hold on one second.
Sure.
Real quick. Just to let the public know, what we're going to do is we're going to finish this item. We are going to take a brief recess to reset the system, and then we're going to come right back and we're going to take our 7, and then we'll go to closed session, because closed session is going to be 3.5 to 4 hours. And so we're going to do that. So we're going to finish this item, take roughly a 10 or 15 minute recess, come right back, do our 7, and then we'll go to closed session. Mr. Reposa.
The job of government is to protect the rights of the sovereign. That's your job when you've been elected. Everyone in this room that's been elected has taken an oath of office in Article 20 of the California Constitution. You take the oath to the United States Constitution first, then you take the oath to the California Constitution. That's Article 20. Backed up by Article 3, Section 1, because we're an inseparable part of the United States of America, and we consider as a state the United States Constitution as the law of the land, which means that the second sentence of the Constitution says that the people shall elect their representatives every 2 years. You can't do that and protect your Article 4 rights if, in fact, we don't have a representative form of government, which is exactly what's happened here. So 2 letters should be done. Number 1. Number 2, you need to take the position of the doctrine of the lesser magistrate. That's what you need to do to solve this problem. The 10th Amendment specifically states that the people have given what? They have given a position to the states and the United States of America to do what we give them to do. You cannot go ahead and give, as a lower power, you can't say we're equal here and we can't give you a power that we own, and we own it because everything is reserved to the states or the people. Not and the people, or the people. That's why the doctrine of lesser magistrate was done. When you delegate something, as we did in the 10th Amendment, that means that you delegate because you're the higher power, not the lower power, and I need to have somebody with testicular fortitude to stand up for the Constitution of the United States of America. We need to have hand counting. We need to have it now. You need to call an emergency meeting, and you can do it with the powers that are invested in you by your oath to the Constitution of the United States of America and the doctrine of the lesser magistrate. Thank you.
All right, bring it back for board discussion. Supervisor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. So I will take the advice of some of the speakers. I'm going to make a motion that we approve 2 letters, one to go out now, one to go out when the new administration is seated, to the United States Department of Justice requesting an investigation into the ballot overspray and other issues from the November 5th, 2024 presidential general election.
For discussion, I'll second that. Ms. Blankenship.
Just to confirm, the letter would be the same. It would be dated for today. It would be signed by today's chair. It would be on today's Board of Supervisors letterhead. It would just be sent twice, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Would you amend that just to have staff be able to prepare, and I still have to sign it, but an opening paragraph to say, we sent a letter similar to this back in whatever, it's not the same letter, just to make sure in terms of I wouldn't want anybody in that transition to say, oh, we got this letter already from Shasta County. I mean, I think it's,
Yeah, that's
I think the intent of what you want to do is make sure both administrations or both receive that and read that.
Yeah, I'm not sure we'd have to go back to R5 to
No,
rediscuss
well, I don't want
it.
to do that. But can we allow staff to make that adjustment?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Council Armour, is that something we can do?
So, Mr. Chairman, you would have to make it a duplicate on this Board of
Then we'll
Supervisors
duplicate
heading
it.
with the supervisors that are here today. It would take the new supervisors to create that new letter.
Yeah, I don't want the news. No, we'll just do it this way. Yeah. Any other discussion? Supervisor Garman. Stephanie, are you good? Take you out of queue? Okay. Supervisor Garman.
Yeah, I won't be supporting this letter. The timing is wrong. Mr. Toller's in the office over there. He's a very intelligent man, smarter than most of us in this room. I trust Mr. Toller and what he's done over there. I trust Kathy Darlene Allen and what she did, and I trust Joanna and what she has done. I'm going to read back 3 comments I heard in public comment. This is a crime scene. Put up the crime tape. Declare it a crime scene. Tom Toller and Joanna are responsible, not Hart or Runback. So it's pretty obvious this is an attack on you guys. This is not about what's right or wrong. It's just a plain old attack on you guys. I'm sorry you're dealing with this, and I just can't support that because I trust everything you guys have done over there. It's not been easy. Thank you for standing up for what you think is right.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and take that vote. And Supervisor Garman, I appreciate that. And ROV Toller, I know that you're coming back on R7 here in 15, 20 minutes. But I just want to, I want you to know, because I want to separate these two items. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but in the negotiation with Hart and InterCivic, I think between yourself and County Council, I think that is a law team that is going to be very well versed in why Runbeck and Hart or somebody is responsible, and we should recoup those costs. But I do not hold out much hope solely because of the SB $90. And Rich, I'm not going to ask you to come up, but he'll attest that we are owed over $1 million to elections going back, I think, 8 or 10 years. So I hold out very little hope that the state is going to, I wouldn't say interpose, but is going to help us in any capacity as it relates to elections or holding those companies liable. So with that, I just want to make sure I separate those items. Supervisor Ricker.
Yeah, I am not going to support this either. I find it really ironic that the 3 of you were the ones that hired Mr. Toller, and Supervisor Garman and I are now standing behind him. And I just, I think that the point that he made is something we should listen to. He's the expert. He's the one that's in that position. And we have to honor that. So I will be voting no.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. We'll take the vote. Where do we start? I think we'll start with Supervisor Garman.
Supervisor Garman?
No.
Supervisor Jones?
Yes.
Supervisor Cry?
Yes.
Supervisor Kellstrom?
Yes.
And Supervisor Rickert?
Okay, so what we're going to do right now, it is 12 o'clock. Stephanie, is it 10 minutes or 15 minutes to reset?
Chair, I'll need 15.
Okay, so we are going to recess for 15 minutes. We'll come back and we will hear R7.